Hello, everybody. I'm going to read you one of my favorite stories when I was a kid. Um, so we will read this together. It's called Stone Soup. Let me make myself bigger because I like to watch myself read. There we go. Oh, you can see the whole page. Good. Stone Soup, an old tale. Three soldiers trudged down the road in a strange country. They were on their way home from the wars. Besides being tired, they were hungry. In fact, they hadn't eaten. They had eaten nothing for 2 days. How I would like a good dinner tonight, said the first. And a bed to sleep in, said the second. But that is impossible, said the third. We must march on. On they marched. Suddenly, ahead of them, they saw lights of a village. Maybe we'll find a bite to eat there, said the first. And a loaf to sleep in, said the second. No harm in asking, said the third. Now the peasants of that place feared strangers. When they heard that three soldiers were coming from down the road, they talked among themselves. Here come three soldiers. Soldiers are always hungry, but we have little enough for ourselves. And they hurried to hide their food. They pushed sacks and barley under the hay in the lofts, and they lowered buckets of milk down into the well. They spread old quilts over the carrot bins. They hid their cabbages and potatoes under the beds. They hung their meats in the cellar. They hid all they had to eat, and they waited. The soldiers first stopped at the house of Paul and Francois. I think that's it. I'm not sure how to say that. I think it's Francois. Good evening, they said. Could you spare a bit of food for 300 soldiers? We have no food for ourselves for 3 days, said Paul. Francois made a sad face. It has been a poor harvest. The three soldiers went on the house of Albert and Louise. Could you spare a bit of food and have you some corner where we could sleep for a night? Oh, no, said Albert. We gave all we could spare to the soldiers who came before you. Our beds are full, said Louise. At Vincent and Marie's, they answered the same. It had been a poor harvest, and all the grain must be kept for seed. So it went all through the village. Not a peasant had any food to give away. They all had good reasons. One family had used the grain for feed. Another had an old sick father to care for. All had too many mouths to fill. The villagers stood in the street and they sighed. They looked hungry as they could. The three soldiers talked together. The soldier called out, Good people! The peasants drew near. We are three hungry soldiers in a strange land. We have asked for you for food, and you have no food. Well then, we'll have to make a stone soup. The peasants stared. Stone soup? What would that would be something to know about. First, we need a large iron pot, said the soldiers. The peasants brought the largest pot they could find. How else to cook enough? That's none too large, said the soldiers, but it will do. And now, fill it with, now water to fill it, and fire to heat it. It took many buckets of water to fill the pot. The fire was built on the village square, and the pot was set to boil. And now, if you please, 3 round smooth stones. Those were easy enough to find. The peasants' eyes grew round as they watched the soldiers drop the stones into the pot. Any soup needs salt and pepper, said the soldiers as they began to stir. The children ran to fetch the salt and pepper. Stones like these generally make good soup, but oh, if we had carrots, it'd be much better. Why, I think I have carrots or two, said Francois, and she ran off. I don't think that's Francois, but we're going to call her Francois. She came back with her apron full of carrots and then beneath her red quilt. A good stone soup should have cabbage, said the soldiers as they sliced the carrots into the pot. But no use asking for what you don't have. I think I could find cabbage somewhere, said Marie. And she hurried home. Back, she came with 3 cabbages from the cupboard under the bed. If we only had a bit of beef and a few potatoes, this soup would be good enough for a rich man's table. The peasants thought that over. They remembered their potatoes and the sides of beef hanging in their cellars. They ran to fetch them, a rich man's soup, all from a few stones. It seemed like magic. Ah, said the soldiers as they stirred in the beef and potatoes. If only we had a little barley and a cup of milk, this soup would be fit for the king himself. Indeed, he asked for just such a soup last time we dined with us. The peasants looked at each other, and the stones had entertained the king as well. The king, well, but no use asking for what you don't have. The soldiers sighed. The peasants brought the barley from their loss. They had brought their milk from the well. The soldiers stirred the barley and the milk into the steaming broth, while peasants stared. At last the soup was ready. All of you shall taste, the soldier said. But first, a table must be set. Great tables were placed in the square, and all around were lighted torches. Such a soup, how good it smelled, truly fit for a king. But then the peasants asked themselves, why not such a soup require bread and a roast and cider? Soon a banquet was spread, and everyone sat down to eat. Never had there been such a feast. Never had the peasants tasted such soup, and fancy made from stone. They ate, and drank, and after that they danced. They danced and sang far into the night. At last they were tired. Then the three soldiers asked, is there not a loft where we could sleep? Let three such wise men and splendid gentlemen sleep in a loft indeed. They must have the best beds in the village. The first soldier slept in the priest's house, the second soldier slept in the baker's house, and the third soldier slept in the mayor's house. In the morning, the whole village gathered in the square and to give them a send-off. Many thanks for what you have taught us, said the peasants said to the soldiers. We shall never go hungry now that we know how to make soup from stones. Oh, it's all in knowing how, said the soldiers, and they went off down the road. Such men don't grow on every bush. The end. You see what the soldiers did? They tricked the peasants into giving them food by saying the stones would make a good soup. And the stones really did nothing. But they were able to get food and a place to sleep. So it was a very tricky thing that they did, but they were very smart about it. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. And I will see you all next week. Bye.